Come with me, and you'll be in a world of
cinematic adventures.
Hello, welcome back to Cinematic Adventures. Today, I am talking with Kevin the Critic, and we are talking Iron Man 3. Hey, Kevin.
Hi.
So, it's not going to be like a debate. We're just going to discuss it. So,
Right.
Your position on Iron Man 3 is, at least from a tweet that I read, that Iron Man 3 is one of the best films in the MCU.
I would say that, yes.
Okay, so my position on Iron Man 3 is it's one of, if not the worst film in the MCU.
Ooh, okay.
So the battle lines are clearly drawn.
Right.
You're the guest, so I'm going to let you go first. What do you why do you think it's one of the best films in the MCU?
Okay, so first, I think Iron Man 3 is one of the best in the MCU because it understands that most people go to superhero, they keep coming back to superhero stories, universes, comics, whatever, for the people inside the costume more than the action itself. And so I appreciate how this one really emphasizes that it's the man inside the suit that's the hero and not just his gadgets. I also like how the tone is considerably darker than the previous MCU entries up to that point, that it humanizes Tony Stark by, giving him PTSD from the events in the Avengers. And this is my most controversial thing, probably. I think that the Mandarin twist works really well in the movie's favor.
Okay. Anything else?
I mean, I guess for opening arguments, no, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
All right. So we'll start with it humanizes him by giving him PTSD.
Okay.
I would say that this movie, it doesn't show us anything about Tony that we didn't already know from his previous iterations in the MCU. It just furthered him being an asshole, which is what we kind of got a little bit of in Iron Man and the taste of an Iron Man 2. But this movie is just like, nope, he's just an asshole. I'm not going to disagree with that. He's not painted in a very favorable light, especially at the start of it. They kind of remind you, like, oh yeah, he used to be like a giant jerkwad. Yeah, but it's not used to be because he is throughout the film. Like everything he says to the kid, he's just a total dick to him. Like, and he leaves him in the street. He doesn't even drive the kid home. Yeah,
the whole thing about, I am mixed on his relationship with the kid. I have mixed thoughts on. I think part of the reason why he acts that way is because it's Shane Black, who's the writer and director, is trying to subvert our expectations of what a typical, hard ass guy who comes into contact with a kid and how that relationship normally goes, where the kid will melt the guy's heart. And this movie is like, nope, he doesn't get charmed by the kid. He just keeps treating him badly.
So basically you're saying Shane Black is the MCU's Rian Johnson.
You know what? That is so funny that you said that, because last night I was watching it like, oh my God, this is exactly like the Last Jedi stuff that happened, where you had this guy come in there who has a very distinctive style, with like a very distinctive style and way of doing things. He likes to subvert expectations.
That breaks canon.
Lot.
Yeah.
And some fans really enjoyed it. Some fans did not. I've heard arguments for both. But yeah, I would say this is definitely the MCU's Last Jedi.
Yes.
More than any other film in the entire series. This is the one that I think I've seen the most people be really mad over.
For me, it's between this and Age of Ultron. But the issue I have with both of them is that they break canon. There are so many things that happen in this movie that we were previously told either couldn't happen or things that don't happen that should have happened. Like, for a perfect example, let's start from the top. Where the hell is S.H.I.E.L.D.? The last movie, last Iron Man movie, Shield was up his ass. Literally, Coulson was like, I've been instructed to stand here and watch you, and if you move, I'm going to tase you and leave you drooling on the floor. And now there's suddenly no such thing as Shield. It doesn't exist. Fuck off. Like,
the defense I can give for that is that at that point in time, the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. TV show was supposed to be linked with the movies. And they have an episode of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. in the first season where they're actually dealing with the Extremis virus thing. So
what episode was that? Oh, that wasn't Extremis. That was the Centipede. That's two separate things.
Oh, wasn't? Okay. I could have swore that they had an episode in the first season where they were dealing with Extremis, or they said something was similar to Extremis.
It was Centipede. They thought it was Extremis, but it wasn't.
Okay. Right. I mean, yeah, I think that it is a little bit odd that S.H.I.E.L.D. is not involved with this. Especially since timeline-wise. I will give you that. Yeah,
timeline-wise, because like I was waiting for you to pull out the like, oh, S.H.I.E.L.D. was being destroyed in Captain America. Yeah, no, that didn't happen yet. That doesn't happen until later.
Yeah.
So speaking of Captain America, where the hell is he when the vice president and the president are being threatened? You mean to tell me a terrorist is going to come on TV and Captain America is going to be like, I'm going to sit this one out?
Yeah, it is a little bit like, this is the first movie in the MCU where people started asking it's a legitimate question. Why doesn't Hero X just call the other Avengers for help? And
well, in this particular case, Tony wouldn't even have to call him, because if the president of the United States is being threatened by a terrorist, because remember, in the movie, the 10 Rings takes over all TV screens. Captain America didn't see that. He's still part of S.H.I.E.L.D. He's not going to be on the case. How come S.H.I.E.L.D. didn't shut down every single location that blew up? Because remember in the first Iron Man, as soon as something weird happens, S.H.I.E.L.D. shows up and locks it down. It also happens later in Thor, which is like the next movie. The next movie, S.H.I.E.L.D.'s like, oh, something's weird's going on. We got to show up. So how is it that all these weird explosions keep happening, but S.H.I.E.L.D. is nowhere near it?
Yeah, I do have to give you that, where it's like, I was kind of wondering that, like, why did they not at least do like a throwaway line of dialogue as to why another hero didn't show up? I imagine the thinking they had was, well, the reason we can't have another hero show up is because this is a movie about Iron Man.
So then they should have rethought the plot.
Or at least figured out a way to get out of that hole of why didn't another hero at least attempt something?
Exactly. Because that, to me, that's a pretty large in-universe plot hole. Like, S.H.I.E.L.D. would have been all over it. S.H.I.E.L.D. is all through all of these movies. Even Captain Marvel, we've got S.H.I.E.L.D. presence. But for some reason, S.H.I.E.L.D. just disappears in the one movie that they would have had the most influence in. So I'm like, that doesn't make any sense, especially when he goes on TV and he announces his address.
Yeah,
Nick Fury should have been like up his ass immediately. Like, why the hell did you do that?
That TV address that he does, I think that it makes sense emotionally for him to do that, because he's freaking out about Happy being in the hospital and all. But it is strange that S.H.I.E.L.D. doesn't like knock on his door and say, hey, why did you give basically everyone in the entire world your home address? And then thankfully the movie shows why giving everyone in the world your home address is a bad idea.
Speaking of, moving right along to the next point, he gives his home address to terrorists, right?
Yeah.
Why does he give them, first of all, because he's a billionaire, right? So he has multiple homes. Why does he give them the most vulnerable address? He could have given them the address of Avengers Tower, which is well protected from all angles. But no, he gives them the address of the house that is vulnerable to the sea from oncoming attack. And he does nothing. There's even a throwaway line when he's like, I gave out my address to terrorists. We're supposed to be on lockdown.
Yeah.
Why did he have Pepper living in the place that he was giving away his address of? Because the whole line earlier was, everything I do is just to protect you. So you give terrorists her address?
Yeah, I did notice that. I did. Yeah, I think that my defense for that is that, again, he's in an emotionally volatile state when he's making that speech, and so he's not thinking. So he's probably not thinking clearly.
But again, remember, this guy's a billionaire. It's not like you and I where it's like we have one place we live. He has multiple places that he lives, all of which are probably more secure to an incoming threat than the Malibu house facing the ocean.
And his thought process was probably like, I've got a bunch of cool suits in the basement. If he shows up at all, I can just put one of them on and blast him away. That's very much fitting. That's fitting in with his, his ego is the size of Mars. He thinks he can take on anybody.
You're playing right into my trap, by the way.
Great.
Speaking of all those suits, that's another point. Remember the house party protocol? Why in Blue Perfect Hell did he not use that when the terrorists showed up? That should have been the automatic defense, but instead he has them do that at the very end. That makes no sense. The house is already blown up by then. That should have been the house's protection. Yeah,
but believe it or not, I actually do have an issue with the house party protocol. Like, not only that, but my defense of that is weak. Like, the reason he doesn't use the house party protocol at the start is because if he did, the movie would be over. And that's literally the only defense. That's literally the only defense I can come up. Like that's the only defense I have. But,
right, which means the writers weren't thinking when they did that.
When he does the house party protocol at the end, and he decides to blow all of the suits up and throw the arc in his chest away, the arc reactor away. I was sitting there thinking, wait, didn't you establish a few movies ago that you had to have that thing in your chest?
Now you're making my points for me.
Well, no. I'm just saying, like, that was that was one point. Like, at the end when he said they just removed that, I was like, that's one point where I was like, okay, yeah, that's
canon breaking, because the previous three movies we established he can't take that out of his chest, and now simple procedure and it's done and he's fine.
Yeah, I will acknowledge that probably more than anything for me. Like, I can forgive the lack of Avengers, I can forgive a ton of stuff, but yeah, the thing of him like throwing all of his stuff away and blowing it up. It's like, if that was like the final MCU movie, or at least the final Iron Man one, I think it would be fine. But it's not. And I think that might be, and it's weird how the other movies go out of their way not to reference this one ever.
Yeah, because like in Age of Ultron, which is the next time we see Tony, if you pay attention, after he steps out of the suit, he still has the arc reactor in his chest. Yeah,
I noticed that in the theater when I saw it in 2015. I was like, wait, didn't you get rid of that?
Exactly. And there are other movies where he has the arc reactor sitting there. And in Infinity War, he explains it away by like, oh, it's just something, it's like a crutch. But at the end of this movie, he threw away the arc reactor. So why go through that if you're going to build a nano crutch? Like, that doesn't make sense. They could have just not done that, and everything would have been fine. Nothing would have changed. Yes. That also is another reason why I don't like this movie, or why I say it's the worst in the MCU. Not necessarily why I don't like it, but why I say it's the worst in the MCU, because of all the 22 movies in the MCU.
Is it 22 or 24 at this point? Or I forgot which number.
Black Widow hasn't come out yet.
Okay, yeah.
So I think Far From Home is 23, but I tend to stop at Endgame.
I think. Oh yeah, for me, I think Endgame should have been the last one. I thought that I saw Far From Home and I liked it, but it was kind of like, okay. I mean, it was a good action movie.
Yeah.
But they don't. I mean, I'm happy where that one leaves Spider-Man. Like, finally a good status quo change, but it was the first one that I came, and I think it's hilarious. like unintentionally, like one of the first lines of dialogue in that movie is Jake Gyllenhaal staring at the audience and telling them, "You don't want any part of this." Like, never, ever, ever have a character say that directly to the camera. Never, ever, ever tell the audience that. Because I was sitting there in the theater with my sister, and we looked at each other like, that's going to come back to bite them in the butt if this sucks.
I liked Far From Home, but I think,
I did too.
I feel like the first, like, Endgame ends the what do they call it? The Infinity Gem Saga or Infinity Saga?
The Infinity Saga is what they call it.
Yeah. So in the Infinity Saga, where you have 22 films, right?
Yeah.
Iron Man 3 is the one film that you do not have to watch at all, and you will not be lost. You won't forget anything. You won't be missing anything. You won't be like, well, how did that or why is that? Literally, the only question you'll have is at the very end of Endgame for Tony's funeral, when people are like, who's that kid? That's literally the only thing. Like, who's that one guy? Like, that's it.
Yeah. So I will concede in terms of the larger universe, this does not really, this is definitely the black sheep. I think it's an Iron Man movie on its own terms, though, like in terms of, the Iron Man trilogy. I think it works really well on that level because it's about Tony Stark realizing that his past indiscretions are finally coming back to haunt him. The decisions that he made before he got trapped in the cave and became Iron Man are, they have consequences for him now.
Yeah, he also learns that lesson in Age of Ultron. So again, you could throw this movie away and his arc stays the same.
I mean, yeah. Again, I think this movie is more screwed over by the movies that came after it than the movie itself.
You know what? I will say this. Okay, if there was no such thing as the full MCU, if Iron Man ended here, if you never saw Iron Man again, there was no such thing as Thanos. Like, the Avengers was over. This is it. There are no more movies with Iron Man in it. This is definitely an ending to it. Is it satisfying? No, but it's an ending. So it's definitely a finale because it does, like, the end. He throws away the arc, and you're like, okay, there we go. Iron Man's done. I
mean, I do think that I like the fact that it does focus more on, like, him trying to, him having to get out of sticky situations, like, mostly by himself and not with the help of his suits. Like, he's become obsessed with making these suits and protecting Pepper and the world and everyone. And so now he's put in a situation where he has to rely on himself for the most part and not his cool weapons and toys. So I felt that was a nice way.
Because literally that happens again in Age of Ultron.
But which one of these would, like, Age of Ultron, yes, that happens again in Age of Ultron, but Age of Ultron has a ton of other stuff going on in it. So
true, but that is still Tony's arc in Age of Ultron. That's the exact same arc. That's exactly my point. You can throw this movie away and you still understand that he went through that journey. Because there's even a throwaway line in Age of Ultron when he's talking about, like, when Nick Fury comes to talk to him and he's talking about the suit of armor and everything. Like, his whole reason for building Ultron. Also, just throwing it out there, if you go from the Avengers straight to Age of Ultron and you skip Iron Man 3, it actually makes more sense. It actually does. Yeah, because you're rewatching him have that exact same, the same story arc he has in Iron Man 3, he has all over again in Age of Ultron. So it kind of makes you think, like, did he learn nothing? Because that's the whole reason why he created the Ultron suit. So it actually makes more sense to watch him create Ultron if like the last time you saw him, he was up in the sky and he's having the flashbacks, and now you're getting this is like his PTSD, as opposed to, oh, he solved that, he's over it, he's moved on, he doesn't need the suit anymore. And then the next time you see him, he's literally in a brand new suit. So the very first frame of Age of Ultron is Tony Stark in a suit. So it throws away everything that happened in Iron Man 3.
which is unfortunate. I actually just remembered I saw something. I remember when, I think it was like a week before Iron Man 3 came out, Joss Whedon had, apparently, I saw an article, Joss Whedon had seen it before the rest of us, and apparently he was freaking out or something.
Because they saw that it was the identical plot points for Tony. Like his story arc is the exact same.
I would, yeah. So I think from a,
Exactly.
from Tony's, so from Tony's arc, yes, it is repetitive. Outside of that, I think the performances in it, regardless of the repetitiveness of the arc, I think the performances in it have a lot more energy to them than Iron Man 2 did. I think the action sequences are very creative and pretty tense. They play it says like action violence throughout or whatever on the box, but I never felt, maybe a little bit in the climax, but until the very end, I never felt like the movie was overloading it with the action. It always had like a strong plot reason to be occurring.
I agree as far as reasons for the action, but I don't agree that they were intense, because this movie is one of the worst in Marvel for the whole undercutting tension with comedy.
Okay, so yeah,
Like every single action scene before something happens, he cuts a joke.
Yeah, and I definitely noticed that. Like, and again, I gotta, like, that's Shane Black's writing style. Like, he's very
great. It's not good.
No, I think that a lot of the humor works in the movie, but there are a few places where it doesn't. Like, the joke for me that really doesn't work is the one where, like, he's chained up to the wall. He's chained up to the bed spring, and he's like putting his hands up to make the suit come to him. Yeah. And he's like, okay, 5, 4, 3. And I'm like, that joke died. That was the joke with it when they did. I was like, okay, that doesn't work.
Also, I think that scene was another missed opportunity, because they could have shown how different he is from other like traditional superheroes. Because in that scene, they totally just glossed over the main difference between he and Captain America, or say he and DC's Superman. Mm-hmm. He threatened to kill the guy because he was like, when the guy smashed the watch, he goes, "You die first." And I'm like, right mm-hmm. there, you should have done more of an exploration of like, Tony Stark is not the nice guy. That would have been more, I think that would have been far more interesting than cracking a joke. Like, lean into, he threatened to kill the dude and then he kills the dude. It's like, yeah, he's got a little bit of Punisher vibe going. He's not Mr. Nice Guy. And then that plays even better when you get to Civil War.
And I think that the reason why they didn't do that was because, like, the movie wants us to, it believes that we like Tony Stark, which I do. I mean,
but it tries so hard to make him a dick, though. Like, every line he says, he's an asshole.
Yeah, I do think that I understand that, like, there are sometimes the way that his lines are phrased sound a little bit more like witty quips than like more natural sounding. But in the larger scale of it, I like the idea that they're, at least to me, it seems like they are, they're doing kind of like a dark mirror thing, holding him up to Aldrich Killian. I like how they're implying like Killian is like the dark version of him, because they're basically the same guy. They're rich, they're really good with technology. Only Tony decided to use his for good, where Killian wants to use it for profit and other evil doings.
See, okay. So you think that the Mandarin twist was good?
Yes.
Why?
I thought it was good because it was the first time I saw the movie. I didn't see that coming at all. B, I think that making Killian kind of the dark mirror of Tony Stark it makes him an interesting character, kind of like the Riddler and Batman Forever, but done better here. I feel like he wants to, like, he's very jealous of Tony Stark's success. which is why he wants to use the technology for his own gains and to get Pepper, which is just creepy. Don't steal another guy's girlfriend. But I mean,
So I didn't like the Mandarin twist.
Okay.
For one, because, in the comics, the Mandarin is an actual character.
Yeah.
But two, I just don't think it was handled well in this movie. So what I personally would have done is, instead of have the twist be there is no Mandarin, it was Killian all along, I would have not introduced the Mandarin at all. I would have had Tony Stark be going one-on-one with the 10 Rings, which is a callback to the first Iron Man, because they're the ones who created him. They're the ones who kidnapped him in the first place. So it would have been a nice in-universe callback, because, like I said, they're the ones who originally came after him, but also in the comics, the Mandarin is the head of the 10 Rings. Mm-hmm. I would have had the twist be that there is a Mandarin.
Mm-hmm.
And that would have been revealed like maybe halfway or maybe at the end. So, like, Tony doesn't know anything about the Mandarin. He just thinks he's going up against this 10 Rings organization. And then in the end, or like halfway through, you discover like, oh, there's a Mandarin. The Mandarin is who's behind all of this. Right. So the Mandarin was behind the kidnapping in the first place. So now you have this scepter kind of thing where it's like, like, how is Tony thinks he's this brilliant genius, but he's being played the whole time.
Right.
That would have worked better on the introspection angle.
I mean, I think the other reason why they did the twist is I feel like they're trying to comment about like the way that things are perceived, like the way that things are perceived in the media. Like you can show somebody an image or a video of something, and if you are convincing enough, then they'll believe you, even if it's false. I don't think it goes really as deep into that as it should, if that's the angle they wanted to. But that was what I think they were attempting to go for. As far as the twist.
Shane Black was pulling a Rian Johnson and was trying to subvert expectations. And also Disney is like, we can't actually have a Chinese bad guy because then we can't make any money in China. And they're the second largest market outside the US.
I mean, yeah, there's definitely he's definitely doing a Rian Johnson with this. Like I would argue the entire movie, from the tone to the style of the humor, it's supposed to be like a satire of an MCU movie. And it works for some people, it doesn't for others. But I think that's what he is trying to do. It's like make a big satire of what we think these things are supposed to be.
Yeah.
I mean, again, like I'm friends with people who like it. I'm friends with people who don't. I mean, there are arguments on both sides. I think that something that he does in here that I absolutely think was a missed opportunity, though, and wish that it would have been canonized. I think Pepper Potts having the extremis powers is really cool, and I hate that they take them away at the end.
You see, again, everything that happens in the movie is undone by the end of the movie. So what was the point of the movie? She gets the extremist powers, and you're like, okay, well, I guess Pepper's a superhero. Nope. He took that away. Now she's fixed. Okay.
Yeah, that was.
I guess that's over now.
Oh no! You're saying like you don't like the twist now. I know I read somewhere like originally like an early draft of the script, the Mandarin twist was going to be that Rebecca Hall was the Mandarin the whole time, but they decided not to do that because, and I kid you not, they were afraid that a female Mandarin wouldn't sell enough toys.
That's stupid. Here's my thing. Because they can't have the Chinese villain, because you can't have it. China will not play an American movie with a Chinese villain.
No.
So, too bad there aren't any other countries in Asia that this character could have been from. I get it, it's called the Mandarin, but my point is, you don't have to immediately whitewash it. You can go to literally any other Asian culture and be like, boom, that's the villain. Just, like, why not make the Mandarin, like, Vietnamese or Korean or Japanese, or Indian. There are so many countries in Asia.
I mean, and again,
Pick one.
I think that I would also say, like, I think Iron Man 3, again, probably more than any movie in the MCU, it's very much of its time in every aspect. It's of its time in the way that it views, like, the way that it portrays, like, the terrorists. It's of its time in that you have a character that's originally one race and we switched it to a white guy. It's of its time in the way that the women are kind of portrayed and utilized in the plot. Again, I really like that Pepper has a more central role in the action this time.
She has a central role in literally one scene. All the other scenes, she's damsel in distress. She's just like, and that's it. Like, the only scene that she has she's good at the end. Oh, and technically you can say in the beginning, but that wasn't her. She was just in the suit. It was the suit that was protecting Tony.
Well, no, I like
the suit just grabbed her first to protect her, and then the suit went and protected Tony. So I don't even count that scene because she was just like taken by the suit.
Well, no, not even that. Just like, what I mean is, I like that. I feel like in the previous two, she was very much just kind of like on the side. Like, she would just be there to, it's like, Tony, please be okay and don't do this to yourself.
Because she's a side character. She's supposed to be, just like Happy. They're not supposed to be part of the action. They're side characters. I'm perfectly fine with that. I'm just saying this movie took it a step further and was like, hey, we know how she was a side character before. Now we're going to ramp her up to damsel in distress. But it's okay. We'll give her literally one kick-ass scene that is completely out of context for the entire movie. Because there's no, like, she just does all this kick-ass stuff. She has no training in any of this stuff. She just got the injection, and now all of a sudden, she's like Wonder Woman. But then immediately, she's like, oh, that was violent. Seriously? You just destroyed an Iron Man suit with one punch.
Yeah, and it's also kind of like, I was also wondering, like, that she's always, like, do all of the ladies that get the extremis suit get into the black track bra thing?
So are we even going to talk about the fact that if the extremis makes you hotter than a lightsaber, you would not be able to wear clothes?
Well, that PG-13 rating said no. So,
But I mean, how ridiculous is it that they're literally burning through steel, but their clothes are fine?
Yeah, I did. I did. I was laughing at that. Like, again, there's a scene in the diner where the red-haired lady is like burning her entire body, and then I've dated chicks harder than you, which I just kind of groaned at. It was like, wait, so they're making special extremis clothes now?
Exactly. Oh no, and they gave Pepper them too. Because
again, I was just focused on, like, why does Pepper have to be in, like, Pepper is in the black track bra for like the entire third act of the movie.
Well, because Gwyneth Paltrow and her Goop products are having to show off something.
Was that even with Goop? That was when she was starting it up. I mean, it felt weird to me, like, you set this person up as kind of like a relatively strong side character, but now you're just gonna have her in this, like, good looking, yes, but in really, like, kind of, revealing outfit for the entire. It's kind of like Leia, the slave Leia thing in episode 6.
Yeah, the term you're looking for is sexist. Because Tony was clothed from head to toe, no matter what, the whole time.
Yeah, and again, I have to attribute that to Shane Black's style, which I don't agree with the way that Shane Black writes some of his stuff, or the way that he seems to view certain groups,
like women.
Yeah, women. If you're a woman in a Shane Black movie, you're not gonna. It's not gonna be great. I'm not saying, like, none of what you've said is wrong. Like, I admit the movie has a lot of flaws. For me, I look at it primarily as just a fun popcorn thing. I think the action is good. I like the humor in it, even though his arc is repeated later. I think in this movie itself, his arc about learning to be more self-reliant than on his technology works.
In this
I also
movie, he's
like how
actually the most self-reliant, though.
I also
because
like how Don Cheadle is used in here. Like in the other, like in Iron Man 2, he was trying to do an impression of Terrence Howard, which I didn't think worked that great. In this one onward, I feel like Don Cheadle just like he made the character his own. He was putting his own spin on it, and I think that he did a really great job at doing that.
I actually preferred Terrence Howard, but that's
Oh.
like I can grant you that that's fine, but that actually has more to do with Terrence Howard than it does with the actual, or not Terrence Howard, with Don Cheadle, his performance, than it does with the film itself. But as far as how they used him, again, so in Iron Man 2, remember when Black Widow was talking to Tony when he was in the suit, when they came down from Randy's Donuts?
Yeah.
Yeah, and she mentions the protocol that he has that makes it so, because remember when Nick Fury was like, your boy stole your suit, and
yeah,
it was like,
they point out how dumb it is that Iron Man would let somebody just take his stuff and waltz in. I mean, he was drunk at the time, but still.
And what does Black Widow say? There are certain redundancies that make it so that only Tony, Rhodey, and Pepper can power a suit, can control a suit at all. Now, another thing that happens in that movie is Anton Vanko, he ends up basically hacking into his technology and controlling all of the suits, including Rhodey's suit, remember?
Yeah, I do. The climax of that movie, the entire third act of Iron Man 2, I hate, because it's like I've literally seen children's cartoons with this exact same finale.
Okay, but that's what happens, right? So
yeah,
Anton Vanko gets into his suit, and then Black Widow has to hack in to give Rhodey control back, right?
Right.
Okay, now what is one thing that we know about Tony Stark after Iron Man 2? We even learned it after the Avengers. Every time you see Tony, you don't even have to see Tony, because in Captain America Winter Soldier, we don't even see Tony, but the next time we see the helicarrier, what's happened? Tony, just from being on it, makes improvements. Anytime something happens, he makes improvements. Remember in Iron Man 1, he goes up too high. He's like, oh, got to fix that. He makes improvements. Anytime he sees an issue, he can't stop. This movie even goes so far as to be like, yeah, he stays up late night tinkering. What is he doing? He's fucking with the suits. He's making improvements. Okay, so then how in Blue Perfect Hell were they able to easily hack into the Iron Patriot suit? Because he would have stopped that immediately after Iron Man 3, making it so that nobody could get in except for the 3 people designed to get in, which, by the way, we were already told the suits were like that. And after seeing Vanko and Black Widow get in, you know he would have locked that shit down.
Well, when they hack into his suit, they start like sawing it off and kind of getting into it.
No. I don't mean physically hack. I mean after they get Rhodey out of it, which, by the way, I'll get into the whole why they shouldn't have been able to do that. But for now, after they get Rhodey out of it, remember the extremist guy gets in it and the suit closes around him. It never should have done that in the first place. And then he's able to fly it away and get on the plane. Never should have been able to use it. Then after he gets out of the suit, they put the president in the suit. And then remember, the president's in the suit, but he's not controlling it. They're controlling it. And they send him to the ship where Killian is.
Yeah.
They were able to hack into the technology to use the suit. There's no way Tony would have allowed that to happen after Iron Man 2.
Yes, you are correct. The third act of this movie, from a should this make sense standpoint, absolutely it does not, given the information we know. I think at that point the movie's just like big spectacle time.
Yeah, but the problem is that's the problem I had with The Last Jedi. It's like it's not all about the cool visuals. For me, you got to stay in canon. This movie totally breaks canon.
Yeah, and I had that problem with The Last Jedi because it seemed where Iron Man 3 seems just to be made by a guy that either forgot about pre-established canon or just had not watch the other ones, either of which I believe is a big possibility. I had a bigger problem with the breaking of canon in The Last Jedi because it felt like Rian Johnson knew that stuff was in there and he decided to do it just to mess with the audience, which it comes off as like, I am purposefully screwing with this because I know it will make you mad. This movie doesn't have Iron Man 3 doesn't feel like it's, other than the Mandarin thing.
I was going to say the Mandarin thing is
no,
the
Mandarin thing. Like, I remember I watched the trailer right before I got on here, and man, I forgot how much they marketed this as like Iron Man versus the Mandarin.
Exactly.
And so it's very like, so yeah, I am very sympathetic to people that hate that twist. I think that they brought in a guy that is known for like subverting expectations in crazy ways more than anything else. So hopefully they knew that that's what they were going to get when they hired him.
That's another thing that doesn't make sense to me because Kevin Feige he's so on topic with everything. Like,
yeah, like he's normally
every single thing is planned out ahead of time.
Was he in charge at that point, or was he still like having to go through Perlmutter to talk to Disney in 2013? Was he like the head guy at that point?
He wasn't the head guy yet, but he was still. So he had his plan. He wasn't the head yet. He still had to deal with Perlmutter, which is just an issue.
Oh yeah, I found out
he had to deal with Perlmutter right up until Black Panther.
Oh really? That's how long it lasted?
Yeah, at least the plan, not necessarily coming out, but like the pre-production.
We're gonna make the. Yeah, I know that Perlmutter made it very, very difficult to do a lot of things, and I'm happy that he is no longer with the films.
Yeah, instead he just ruined the TV shows. That Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. was my favorite TV show, and now I didn't even watch the last season. I was like, this is crap.
I'm in the middle of season 4 right now, and I'm liking it. So I'm liking it so far. I feel like every season the show like kind of
it's better.
Yeah, it's trying to revamp. Like every season the show is trying to revamp itself in some way, which I do like. Because it took me like a year and a half to get through the first season because it took a long time for things to happen.
Yeah,
and then each season improved. I thought.
I think so too, but then that ends after season 5. The end of season 5, like when you come back for season 6, you're like, this is not. It goes. It tries to reinvent itself so much that to me, it's not the same show.
Oh, that's
the last season 7. I was just like, don't care, I'm out.
I mean,
I was just like,
and I do have to. I don't know. It's a show that I enjoy. Like I enjoy like doing binge sessions of it. So it's like, oh yeah, I haven't watched this in a few months. I'll remember. Just do like episode pods, I guess I'll call them. Like okay, I remember what's happening here mostly. Again, I think that every criticism that you have of Iron Man 3 is absolutely correct. I think that no, really, like it is. It does break logic, continuity. It does. Tony Stark goes through the same arc again and again. Despite that, I enjoy it on its own terms as like just an action thriller with humor in there. Comedy probably more than anything is subjective. So if the humor doesn't work for somebody, I totally get it.
So that's the weird thing. I think the humor worked. Like the jokes landed with me. Mm-hmm. It was just, I couldn't, like there was so much canon breaking. I couldn't do it.
Okay.
There's too much. If there was like one or two things here or there, like if there were like one or two things, I'd be like, okay, well that part doesn't make sense, but whatever, move on. But it's like every other scene, it's like, wait, that can't no. And then we already know that shouldn't, and no, what are you doing? Why is it like all over the place? And I'm like, stop it.
I mean, we at least know that Shane Black watched the first movie because Yinsen cameos for like 5 seconds.
See, that's exactly my point. You just hinted at what I was thinking when I finished watching this movie the first time. I thought, did the writers even watch the other Iron Man movies? Did they know what's going on? Because I feel like they were just like, hey, here's this character Iron Man, and somebody explained the character to them, and then they just wrote what they thought was a cool, like, basically they got like a Cliff's Notes of Iron Man and Iron Man 2, and they were like, oh, I'll just write this. And they didn't bother to like check that, those certain things can't happen. Like, for example, remember I said I was going to go back to the fact they shouldn't have been able to get him out of the suit. Okay, so Tony Stark's suit can go to space.
Right.
Which is super cold. Okay. Originally, in Iron Man 1, he couldn't leave the atmosphere because it was too cold and he froze over. He has improved it in the Avengers. He has improved so well. He can go all the way to space and he can withstand space. On top of that, multiple times we have seen his suit be fired upon in Iron Man, the very first one. Mach 1 had flamethrowers and he walked right through it. They shot missiles at him. The missiles blew up. He walked right through it.
Yeah.
So since we've seen bombs explode and him walk right through it, we know that his suit can withstand space. It can actually leave the Earth's atmosphere and withstand space and withstand re-entry, which is hot as shit. Okay.
I mean,
how can somebody's hand get hot enough to open the suit? It should be able to withstand that.
It should. It doesn't. Again, I think that
exactly that doesn't make sense.
I will be honest. I'll say the third act of this movie was my least favorite part of it because I really enjoyed up to the Mandarin reveal. I like that it's a subversion, but I think they get some good humor out of it. But yeah, the final 20 minutes where they're on the boat, I really do like the visuals of it, but it doesn't really connect with his character arc of learning to rely on himself.
See, I think that arc that you're talking about works better in Spider-Man Homecoming. That's a better arc. That's the exact same arc that Peter goes through of, remember when Tony says, if you're nothing without the suit, that's the same thing. And I think it's better because at the end of that, he doesn't throw away Spider-Man. He's still Spider-Man. He just learns that he is Spider-Man. Just like Tony says, like, I am Iron Man. Basically, this movie was trying to be like, Iron Man's superpower is his genius. And it should have leaned into that more. But instead, he still relied on his suits to save him at the end, except for when Extremist Girl saves him at the last second, which also, when she blows him up again, the suit exploding was a huge explosion, and Killian walked through that. Why do we believe he's dead now? Like, why? If he can, there's so many times when things explode and these characters just get up and keep walking. So what's the degree at which they die? Also, he's a genius. They're on the ocean. Extremis is extremely hot, right?
Yeah.
Why not try to drown him? Or try to cool him off, try to over freeze him, something like that. You don't fight fire with fire, you fight fire with something that freezes fire.
Maybe because somebody puts in Shane Black's ear, hey, he defeated the first bad guy ever by freezing him, so you can't do that again.
But he didn't defeat him that way. That was just a mechanism he used. Because remember, they fought on the roof after he did that.
Yeah, and then he
defeated Obadiah by using his brain. Because remember, his suit had malfunctioned at that point. He was just rolling around in it. He had to use his mind to be like, hey, Pepper, short circuit the roof. That's how he defeated Obadiah. The Iron Man 1 is a better movie for what you're talking about. For the whole plot of he's got to learn to be without the suit.
God, good Lord. This is, oh God. Okay. Yeah, I think that this was made to subvert. I don't know if Shane Black had ever read an Iron Man comic book or seen an Iron Man movie before. I think he wanted to make a funny action thriller, which is what he makes a lot of the time.
I think Shane Black read the original Iron Man comics. But the problem is the MCU is not based on the original comics. The MCU is based on the alternate universe. He didn't read any of that because in the alternate universe, he has the arc reactor in his heart. Originally, the Iron Man suit was like, it was a suit and it was powered by a battery. So he had it hooked up like a car battery, kind of like Shane Black has him do in this movie, which, by the way, why the hell does the Iron Man suit need to be powered when it's powered by the arc reactor that's in his chest like in all the other movies? How does he run out of power? Okay, it doesn't make any sense. He's got to be powered down for a while. Why? He's got the arc reactor in his chest. It doesn't make sense.
This is gonna make me sound really bad, but I wish I had noticed how dumb all this was together.
I'm sorry. I think I broke you.
I'm sorry. Like, God, I'm sorry. People must think I'm an idiot for not noticing all this.
If it makes you feel any better, I just think this way. So
Well, no. And what I'm like banging my head about is I'm normally the guy that gets onto stuff for like breaking continuity and character motivation and stuff like that, or like previously established canon. I'm into that.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm scratching my head trying to think why all this stuff didn't bother me, or like it might just be I like it for the spectacle and nothing else, like the spectacle and the humor.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was thinking about when I was watching it last night. I was thinking about it only in terms of like the movie by itself, not in the larger universe.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, like that. That's where my head. You know what? That's why. That's where my headspace is at. Like I wasn't thinking about like Ultron or the end of the movie. As a movie by itself, I really do enjoy it. I like the action. I like the arc that he goes through. As a larger connecting point of the Marvel universe, though, yeah, it is not. It's like the awkward uncle that people don't want to show up to the Thanksgiving dinner.
Okay. Now I'm trying to think. So you just made me like reframe how I'm thinking. Okay. So before I was thinking like, because originally we were talking about how you thought it was one of the best of the MCU. I thought it was one of the worst of the MCU. Okay. So now I'm trying to reframe to think of how it breaks its own canon within itself, because it does that too. So
to what degree? Because I agree with you. Like in terms of like the larger universe of it,
right?
It's like oh my God, like what did you do? But like there are movies that break their own logic where I can let it go because like that happens sometimes. But what degree, like how severely does this break its own logic? Within itself, only within the story it is telling individually.
Well, for one, we can go back to the party protocol, because within the movie he's like, we're supposed to be on lockdown, and yet they're able to blow everything up. And then at the end of the movie, he's got the house party protocol. Why didn't you do that in the beginning?
Probably because
that's just a within the movie thing. Like within this movie, he should have done that to save the house.
Again, my defenses are, if he did that, there wouldn't be a movie. And also at that point in the movie, like Rebecca Hall shows up and is knocking on his door, and Pepper's kind of like getting on to him. And so he's in a very stressed out headspace.
Okay, so at that moment, Pepper is actually being normal because he just went on television and gave a terrorist his address and she's leaving. So if you think about it like a normal person, Pepper's like, I'm out of here because that's stupid.
Oh yeah, no,
she's being normal in that moment.
Oh no, I agree. Like Pepper is acting like I would act in a situation if my girlfriend or boyfriend, if I went that way, was giving their address to terrorists too. But I think he's there's a lot of stuff going on at once at that time, and so he might not be he probably wasn't thinking about that he had that. That doesn't mean it's not stupid they didn't use it, but at least it's like your girlfriend leaving you and your ex-girlfriend coming up, and you're about to go off to Tennessee to figure out what the bad guy's plan is. All of that together might keep the house party protocol like kind of down low on your priority list. Maybe.
Jarvis is AI and tends to suggest the wisest course of action at all times. Jarvis could have suggested, because remember at the end, he just says, hey, Jarvis, you know what time it is? And Jarvis is like, yes, sir. Why didn't Jarvis go, incoming? That's another thing. Jarvis didn't warn him. See, now I'm thinking of more stuff.
Oh.
Jarvis should have seen the helicopters and been like, there are heat-seeking missiles on those helicopters, sir. Time to deploy the house. Like, you've got AI protecting you.
Oh.
It's in the movie, in canon. Just sticking to this one movie.
Yeah. Again, there's a lot of, because the plot has to move forward, that goes on here.
Mm-hmm.
Again, that's not. Yeah, that's not like.
There's no way she should have been able to get to the door. He even says that. He was like, "Why are we on doorbell ringing?" She should not have been able to get to, because like in Malibu, like before you can get to the house, you have to go like about a mile, damn near, just to get to the front door. Yeah, she should have been stopped at the entrance a mile before the front door. That's why he's like, "Why is she driving in?"
Yeah,
how'd she get through the gate?
Yeah,
a throwaway line of how'd she get here doesn't answer the question.
And what did bother me about it was like, you have a throwaway line about like pointing out how ridiculous it is that somebody can, even get up there when you're supposed to be on lockdown, but you don't.
Then you don't explain it exactly.
Yeah, again, I think that Shane Black was like, I just want to make an action movie with robots in it. And this Iron Man guy is popular right now, and people are scared of terrorists, so we can put some of that in there. He
should have done, what's the one with the robots and the kaiju?
That is Godzilla. Oh, no, Pacific Rim.
No, not Pacific Rim. Yeah, he should have done Pacific Rim. Would have been perfect. Would have been great.
Oh, no, you know what? If he had done Pacific Rim, then I would have been able to see what the hell was going on in the action scenes. Pacific Rim is a movie. I like the second one as a big, dumb cartoon, and I enjoyed the action. The first movie I watched, I was like, I like some of this, but I cannot see anything because you chose to shoot it all at night in the blistering rain in the dark. Like, speaking Guillermo, I'm sure. Like,
go ahead.
Well, I'm only like in the second one, the Pacific Uprising. I thought that was like a live action cartoon. That's how I viewed that. The first one, I was like, the world building here is good. The monster designs are cool when I can see them. The characters, I'm like, whatever. But yeah, I have problems with Pacific Rim. Just in terms of like what it doesn't know what it wants to be. Does it want to take itself seriously or be a dumb, fun monster basher? I'd be fine with both, but I'd be fine with either, but doing both did not work.
So I feel like we're swapped on Pacific Rim and Iron Man 3 because I'm like, it's just a popcorn movie. Like, yeah, I liked it. It's fine. Well, I didn't love it, but I liked it.
Yeah, I mean, it was fun. I wanted to enjoy it. I really like the way it just opens up and tells you this is a giant monster fighting robot movie. I'm like, that's awesome. Yeah. I can't see any of it. Like, damn it. Like, I can't see any of this cool monster stuff, and you keep cutting, and it's not close enough.
Okay, so speaking of seeing, wouldn't it have been better to, throughout the movie, see him in a different Iron Man suit?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I did get a little bit tired of seeing like that. I mean, it looks good, but it's like, again, by virtue of the plot, that's the only suit he has available at that point.
Why?
Again,
he's Tony Stark. At one point, he has all the suits come to him. Obviously, the technology was there the entire time. So again, why?
Yeah.
They even make a big deal out of when they're on that boat, the only suit who can have is this one. But then 20 minutes later, literally all suits are exactly where he is. So if he's in touch with Jarvis when he's on the boat, why can't he be like, Jarvis, send this suit, send that suit, send Red Snapper, send it. He's got 41 other suits that all functioning.
There is a period for a while where, again, it's dumb still within the movie's logic. His suit is charging, so he's not going to be able to call the other 41 suits that he has for a while. The point where he's like on the boat,
he's not tied to Jarvis just through the suit. Remember, he has that earpiece. Because remember, at the very end of the movie, he knocks the earpiece out and he can't call Jarvis.
Yeah,
he had that earpiece when he was on the boat. That's what connects him to Jarvis. Jarvis is just AI, and it's in all the suits. Yeah, so why can't he call any of the other suits to him? Which he eventually does at the end.
Because they have to get a cool scene of him flying people on the airplane. That's like, well, no. Like, my thing is like, I don't like the headset thing, how they first use it. Like you said, like the movie makes him into a dick. I think the worst move that he makes, and I get it, it's to make a point about like he's obsessed with the suit. I do not like that he is so self-absorbed that he sends his robot suit up there to greet Pepper on their date night while he's just downstairs. That was the one moment where it was like, okay, that's a bit too much.
Actually, I find that to be probably the most in character for him. Because that is him.
I mean, that to me was kind of like, I mean, it's in character, yeah, but it paints him in a light where I'm like, it doesn't paint him in the light where I like him very much at that point.
He's not that likable of a character. He's a billionaire and he's an asshole. All right, well, thank you. I'm going to go ahead and end it here. Thanks for coming on and being easily swayed. So where can everybody find you?
You can find me. My name is Kevin the Critic. You can find me on Facebook, Twitter at Kevin_the Critic, and Instagram, Kevin the Critic, all one word. I have a film review blog where I post, full written reviews. I do blurbs. I take review requests, all that. So you can check me out there.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for being here and having your mind changed. Iron Man 3. Here's the fun part for me. Okay. Yeah. So after this conversation, the next time you watch the MCU in order, when you get to Iron Man 3, all of this is going to be in your mind.
It is. It's going to. I feel like I'm going to become one of those angry people. Like, I don't even read the comics, but I know this is wrong.
My work here is done.